Okay, so we just had Timothy Shieff on, who was a Parkour World Champion. We went deep into the mental, emotional stuff, which I always love, and then we talked about like this new rope thing that he's got going on, and I've heard about. So it was sick.
He's the master. Follow the way of the rope. So it's just this crazy sort of rope stuff, which we're going to get into pretty keen. It makes sense for shoulders and just rotational imbalances, and his story of how he was plant-based for like 10 years or something, and his story added that how he did like a 30-something day fast and
had salmon and then prematurely ejaculated in his sleep.
and they used him. What was not premature, is it?
No.
but
how good is that shit though?
Yeah, cool story, cool guy, really cool guy. Like didn't know what to expect, but fucking loved it. So
yeah, honest, open, and like. Yeah, how he's into AJ Miller's work, Truth, Love, Humility. Fuck it, he's a legend.
Yeah.
Sick. So tune in. Welcome back to the potty. Welcome, Timothy. How you going?
Thanks, my brothers. I'm good. You can call me Tim too, by the way. I know Zoom says Timothy, but Tim's good. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
good to be here.
So funny.
Yeah.
Sick. Welcome on board, dude. So the way of the rope. Way of the rope.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's sick.
Yeah,
that's
we read a little bit about you just before you came on, and we're super keen to hear about your journey and how you got into it, and especially into the veganism and stuff like that, and your way out of it, and just what's your journey been like?
That's such a cool interesting story. That's from someone from experience. Like you can talk from experience.
Yeah. What do you want me to start with? There's a lot.
Well,
what do you want me to?
How about? Well, where does it start? Actually, where does it start for you?
Where does it start? Your health journey.
Health journey. Okay, so I was always into movement from a child, like always upside down, spinning on my knees, doing handstands. Got into breakdancing. That led me to parkour. Doing that for years. Then in my like early 20s, I think it was actually listening to Eckhart Tolle's audiobook was like the first time I started to actually think. I was like, like it's almost like there were thoughts that I hadn't thought yet, but it just made sense to me. Not that I'm fully with that exactly approach now, but it just helped me like reframe my mind. And then that led me to like when someone, I can't remember how I was approached. I think someone tweeted me or something about diet, and that was just like, it was just a growing desire in me that like there was something beyond just the physical world. And that kind of led me to diet was my first approach in like, I guess, trying to evolve spiritually, and just seeing that not everything in the world that we're presented with is like necessarily for the best of each of us, right? It was kind of like, there's like, you just accept everything around you. You grow up in culture and society, and you think that everyone is like actually trying to, I mean, most of people are doing their best or trying to do it, but generally like the people in charge, that was like my awakening to like, like they definitely don't actually care, and they're definitely like misleading us here and there. And that led me to look at my diet, and that was just the first time I thought of kind of made a conscious choice for my life. And then that led me to a whole other, rabbit holes, looking at reading Essay and Gospel of Peace and Celestine Prophecy and all these kind of books that were just a bit more fringe, but like just had this growing desire in me to like, there's more than just the physical. And I had like quite a few injuries and things at the time, which you just think is bad luck. And I started to realize, maybe it's not bad luck. There's other things involved. Biomechanics. I changed my diet. And when I changed my diet, I like, so many things felt better, so many hallmarks. Inflammation went down, and I felt lighter. I felt clearer in my mind. And these things could be placebo. There could be other reasons. Like there's this early like effect whenever we make any adjustment or change anything, that we suddenly do start to feel better, and it might last a month or two. And the first few times you do that, you really hold on to those that belief, you know what I mean? And then after you do it a few times, like, maybe this is just the same cycle again.
And is this in the UK, man? Like
when I was doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in England. Grew up in a town called Derby, in kind of the middle of England, and then I moved to London to pursue parkour as a full-time career. I won the World Championships in 2009 and 2010.
Wow.
And so I was living in London, and first time flying the nest with other people, meeting other people, and just starting to question life a little bit differently, and just yeah, just started to see the bigger picture a little bit at that point of like that, like, yeah, it's my own choice. Like if I actually want to be happier and healthier, then I can't just copy the rest of society. I had to start making choices for myself, and that led me to vegetarianism and veganism, and that was like a real huge moment and chapter for me. Like that's a part of that journey in there.
Yeah, so it's almost like your story about with your leg, hey? How
for sure.
When you were talking before about the injuries, were you thinking about that as, I know you said bad luck, but were you thinking about that as like biomechanics, or more like the universe telling you to go down a different path, or
Yes, so neither. I mean, that was like when I was like 18, 19, I had like 2 knee surgeries, and I think I was just starting, like deeply there was some sense of like there's no coincidence or something, and maybe I was a bit aware that I was a bit, I think I started to be, shortly after that, was a bit duck-footed. So, towards biomechanics, started to think of it then, but really no, when it happened, I wasn't thinking that, and I wasn't thinking diet. I wasn't thinking there's a reason for this at the time. I was just like 18, counting down the months that I won't be able to do parkour because of, the doctor said there's a 20% chance you won't run again, and you're 18 years old, and you're like, whoa, just starting your career, and you're like, yeah.
Fuck.
And I remember just eating cheese on toast, watching The Office every night, like waiting for my injury to get better, like
yeah.
Because the doctors don't tell you to change your diet or so, and I just think it's just a written, whatever they tell you is kind of going to happen, and it's like, I wish I knew that more stuff at the time, but I got through it, and it's all right now.
What was the knee injury? Do you remember?
It was torn meniscus.
Oh yeah,
on each knee, and there wasn't even, the doctor said there should be a moment when like it takes like 7 tons or something to break it, and there was some crazy number, maybe not that much, but like a huge amount to tear it, and there should have been a moment when I like noticed it, and there was no moment like that. I think it was just, I think I started to do side flips, and side flips have a weird axis of landing, and I think there's just a lot of pressure through the knees at a weird angle. There definitely was biomechanical factors involved in that. I was also quite more top heavy because I did a lot of breakdancing and had a lot more muscle in my upper body. So then I'm suddenly trying to do all this leg stuff, and my center of mass was maybe higher, and or with and you don't follow, like with parkour, it's very like, if you go to gymnastics, there's a form to do everything, which is for a reason. Like, and with karate or martial arts, there's a form because there's an optimum way for the body to have certain rotations and alignments. And with parkour, fuck all that. You're just a kid that wants to jump off a roof, right? And like you're kind of almost in there with a rebellious attitude, like, don't try to make my style conform. But there also is just no guidance, even if you wanted it. So it kind of came from, this is a tough lesson, But
has that changed now with parkour, because it's been around for longer now? Like, is there?
Not really.
Really?
No, and it'd be tough to do, right? Because it's like, you're 14, you watch Store on YouTube. Like, there's not really a formal, there's not loads of money in parkour. There's just no real structure to it. And if someone tried to, I think there are like groups, like there are certainly groups, like Parkour Generations is one. There was kind of a split within the parkour community of like the young kids just doing their thing, and they'll do the peak. Amongst them, like, it's like a crapshoot, right? And so some of them will get through and be the peak athletes. And then there's like Parkour Generations, which are much more like the older generation, inspired by the French Yamakasi, teaching a lot of physical conditioning and proper technique. But it's like those people never get to the same heights as the more reckless looking ones, so they never get as much traction. But they are more organized with it, so there's kind of a split with it.
Ged, fuck man, you would have smashed your shins a few times, doing that.
A little bit. You know what? Other than the meniscus hair, though, like, I never broke a bone doing parkour. Like, wow. I never. I know it can appear reckless. I never really felt reckless. It was more the like long term. Like, I had tennis elbow, some sort of tendonitis type things. The repetitive strain on the tendons, more than like just fucked it up. I did a couple of times. I hit my shins, but nothing like super serious.
Yeah, fuck. That's I remember when it like first started coming out, like on YouTube in Australia. It was the sickest shit. Like, yeah, and no one was really doing it here so much. I guess we're not near a city, but so you won the world championships, man. What was like? Are you into it at all now? Do you follow it?
Yeah, I mean, I took like a 5 or 6 year break,
Mm-hmm.
up until like less than a year ago, and I just started doing it again to work on biomechanics. And it's natural that your passion, you do something for 11, 12 years.
Mm.
I mean, sometimes you want to for me, it was like, I need a break from this. I'd been like a figure in the community. My body was starting to break down for many different reasons.
Yeah.
Diet, emotional stuff, other things. I stepped away from it and focused on biomechanics. I got into running and mountain running, trail running, then like deeply into the biomechanics, and then kind of just in the last year, I was like started training again lightly, and I'm really loving it. I'm just like, there's moments I feel that passion that I felt when I was 18 again for this practice. I think it's truly like, I love the simplicity of it. You don't need any tools. It's just your human body, like your ability to control it, your touch, your physical conditioning, and the environment around you. Obviously, it needs to be more of an urban environment, but there's really good parkour parks people build these days, and it's a really, truly wonderful, unique practice. And I think it'd be great if all children had the opportunity to learn it, at least for like a year or a few years, if they wanted to. And I think it builds a really that your body really well and how to control it from it.
Yeah, I've seen the I'm not sure if it's on Red Bull or whatever, but there's like the tag ones. Have you seen the tag ones? I'm sure you have, but like
that kind of stemmed from parkour.
Yeah,
most of I'm pretty sure all the athletes, the ones that win anyway, have a parkour background.
We'll chase definitely. Tag. It's actually super exciting to watch. I was watching. I was like, this is sick. It's like how they were getting away and just like exactly using their body, and it was just athletic.
That's it. And it's like that child in the playground. You all play tag or bulldog or whatever version you call it, right? And it's like, well, there's just and yet we get put into competitive sports, footy or whatever, and it's like you just from young age, and it's just whoever's the best is not really like, kids don't necessarily want to do that. Some of them do, and then they get paid millions. But like, who's the best at tag? Who can dodge the best is just the most basic kid game. And like, let's take that to a adult and see how far we can go. And that's what we'll chase tag have done.
And also plays is so important. Like, we don't play anymore. We don't do stuff. And I feel like plays like something that you do with, you don't always need an outcome. Like, it's important to not have to always win.
Amen,
yeah. It's like you're just doing it because it feels good, and I feel like that's like probably why we. Yeah, I mean, what do you reckon? Jiu-jitsu, as we've gotten up the ranks in jiu-jitsu, it feels like that more for me now, where it's like I just enjoy it even if I'm not winning. I don't like. I always wanted to win.
Yeah, like there's days that you got to study and learn, and then there's days that you just want to go and roll and just start playing, like jumping on random shit.
Yeah,
stuff that
exactly.
Isn't so technical, but sometimes you pull it off and it feels good.
Yeah,
yeah.
Have you ever done jiu-jitsu?
No, I've done like 1 or 2 sessions with my mate in his basement, like nothing serious. I know like so many people tell me like, Tim, you'd love this, because like I really like to look at things mechanically, and I like the body and just like the minimalism of just like what a body can do and 2 bodies together. But I just haven't like pursued it for like, either I know I'll get addicted, or I don't want the next strains or something like that. And people always say you just got to find the right like training partners, right? Because if you find people like you say that just often there's always the white belts that are the most dangerous, right?
Definitely.
Crank too hard, you roll with someone higher. Knowing that edge, you say about play, right? And that's really what it's all about. It's not about winner or loser. It's about playing at your edge for each person, and then that's where the joy is found, right?
That's that's the biggest thing I've learned from the 8 years I've been doing it, or 7.5 years or whatever. I find that now it's the most enjoyable ever, because it's more playful, and it's like I'm just trying stuff and getting beaten more, but like that's okay too. And it's like you just it's sick. It's always like you're always trying to harness that inner dragon. Hey, it's like my dad always used to talk about motocross, because I think he got like second in Australia when he was younger. He was really good at motocross, and he's like, the minute you're out of your comfort zone and you're going just a little bit above, he goes, that's always when bad shit was happening.
Really?
And he's like, it's when you're like just below, or you're pushing yourself to where is comfortable. It's like when you go out of comfortability, that's when it starts to get like heated, and like he had a tree branch go through his helmet and shit, and ripped his face apart and stuff. And he's like, because I was just riding out of my element.
With was it The Power of Now, bro? Your audio book?
No, it wasn't actually. It was
A New Earth.
Can you name another one?
Yeah,
New Earth. Yeah, New Earth.
Yeah, sick.
That's deep, that one.
And that was just the start. Yeah, I think I was just at my friend's. I was sleeping on the floor, and he just put it on. Like, do you mind if we put this on to go to sleep to? And I was
sick.
Like, what is he like? He's saying all these things. Yeah, that was just like a real spark moment. And then I remember being in like airports, just listening to it, standing in queues, like totally just like not bothered about the queue and like absorbing this truth at the time, which definitely, I don't know, fully aligned with Eckhart now, but it was just a huge part of like the step in my awakening that's forever ongoing,
Who do you feel like you're aligning with at the moment? Because it always changes. It's always is like
that's such a good question. And the answers are funny. Teaching is called Divine Truth.
Sick.
And some people might have heard of him. They call him Aussie Jesus, AJ Miller. He's actually from, people just think it's a cult, but I listen to the teachings. And he's from Kingaroy in Australia.
That's like 2 hours away, man.
Is it? No way. Are you in Brisbane?
Sunshine Coast, which is right next to Brisbane.
Coast.
Yeah.
Like Noosa? Or?
Yeah, Noosa.
Oh wow! So I went last year to check them out in person because I like, if I'm into something, I try to go to the bottom, like deep. I dive. I'm a deep diver, so I'll just go. And their teachings on YouTube, I've listened to them for the last 5-6 years, and it's been the most helpful, honest truth I've ever come across.
That's such a trip. That's my dad passed away last October, and he always taught. I haven't actually looked into much of AJ Miller's stuff, but my heart skipped when you told me, because I was like, fuck, Dad used to always. This is like Dad's biggest thing. He was like, he'd always talk, and it's
your dad was into Divine Truth.
Yeah, AJ,
no shit.
AJ Miller. Yeah, and it's all about like it's about truth, man. If like my dad was so massively into truth, like this is how truthful my dad was. We were at catching up with having a coffee with a bunch of people, and he was like, people that you wouldn't really share this with, and he was like, when I was a kid, I was actually sexually abused by my sister, and it was my way of finding love. Like I just felt like, and I look around, dude, and there was just like this hard concreter, and then this other guy, and they were just like, what the fuck is this shit? Get me out. But I love that. And my dad's whole thing.
Yeah, you got to rate it.
Dude, my dad's whole thing was truth, love, humility. And I'm really psyched to go look into this. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, those are the 3 principles they teach. And it's like, it's, the thing, he claims he's Jesus, and Mary's there as well. Yeah. And that is just like 99.99% of people will dismiss everything because of that one simple thing they say. But everything else, like for me, it's like, okay, there's shit's crazy in the world. Like maybe not, probably likely not, but maybe. Like I can't say for sure. I know not. Park that. The rest of it they teach is just been like, it was just so logical and simple and like truth, love, humility, like 3 simple pillars of spirituality. Right?
Yeah, man, that's such a unique gift what you just said then. Like, because we're into the Chek stuff, like Paul Chek's work. Have you heard of Paul Chek at all?
Yeah. He's been on his podcast. I like Paul. Yeah,
oh, right.
I was on his podcast a few years ago. Yeah.
Right. So that's what changed our whole life, right? Is just foundational principles of just owning your shit and health and organic food and all this sort of stuff. But you'll get people that, say he talks about him astro traveling, whatever, and they'll hear that and then not listen to what he says about cervical disc bulges or whatever, when he's one of the masters with the body of like so many stories of crazy rehab stories that he doesn't even tell, but I've heard from other people that were just fucked up that he rehabbed. And then when you hear him talking about it, he has a conceptual understanding of the area, the neck, the joint, whatever it is, and it makes sense. But they'll deny that because he's talking about his soul or whatever it is. So
yeah, man. No, I like Paul a lot, man. I love his chalkboard, like no whiteboard, just straight chalkboard. And talks in front of them and stuff. Right? Yeah. I follow Paul quite a bit. Not so much lately, but I have absolutely massive respect for him. And out in Montenegro, I was saying the other day, we need to build a rock stacking section here. Like, it'd be a cool. That'd be what cool, he has out in Rainbow Ranch or whatever it is.
Yeah. Fuck, he's the man, eh?
Not to deviate too much from the thing. Yeah, he's cool.
No,
he's really
that's cool, man. What else does that you've been into with the AJ Miller stuff? Like, Dad always talked about truth, love, humility, but what are they really teaching in there? Like, what are they about?
Yeah. So one of the main teachings is what it's all about, a personal relationship with God. And again, that was going to be a trigger for some people either way. I don't but it's teaching that you don't need a religion. Like, I go to church, but I don't consider myself a Christian. I don't think anyone needs a religion. I just believe that there is a creator, and I can't say like it's 100% knowing, but I'm pretty sure, like, I see, the way the world is, and I've just, I don't know. It's a feeling mixed with like observations through life that there's a faith that there is some being that's created this place and me and my soul, if that's what I have, and that I can have a personal relationship, and that there's never been an intention to have a mediator between me and that being. Like, you don't need to go through Jesus or through Islam or through anything like that. So it's all about, and that relationship is an emotional one, not like words in your head, but it's through feeling in your soul. And so as long as we are repressed emotionally and blocked emotionally, that relationship is blocked from happening because we can't feel, right? So it's a lot of the teachings is, and I'd be interested how much your father shared with you, is about being honest, like having humility to feel what we really feel, using truth as a catalyst to that. So just being honest with, like, your father was about his childhood, like you said. And then love is the almost, like, it's so misunderstood today, but there is a God's definition of love that, when we understand it, can help heal us. But that is almost like a purging process, like, of all the repressed emotions that we've stored, mostly from childhood. So it's a healing journey through a relationship with God, and it's an emotional process. That's one path. There's another path, which is what many people take, which is more, towards Stoicism or Buddhism or something. But that's a more putting layers on the emotion and bearing the emotions, and you can still find peace to a degree. But they claim the relationship with God is the fastest process to everything you want, and finding your purpose and finding your joy in life and finding your perfect partner and relationship.
Sounds a lot like Spirit Gym. I'm doing Paul's Spirit Gym at the moment.
Spirit Gym, I've not heard of that.
Yeah, Paul Check he's doing like sounds very similar. Like, he's talking about how angels and spirits really, they can't like interrupt your journey, but they can contact you through soul guidance and intuition. So when you feel like you're being led somewhere, like it's like divine almost, and you're like, okay, that's the way I'm meant to go. It's either, they say it's your soul guiding you, it's your higher self, but it can be angels, it can be spirits, it can be someone looking after you, which I really feel like sometimes I've more been like, I'm going to go that way.
Very definitely.
Which is magic.
It's the same as they teach that there are spirits influencing us every day in many of our moments and interactions, and some are angelic, more loving, divine spirits, and some are more darker spirits that want us, to push us. They push and prod our insecurities and fears to help guide us to, eat that extra piece of cake or whatever it is. Like, so but spirits are just beings that were humans on Earth that have passed over, and then some of them are earthbound and continue to affect the Earth, and some of them have homes in higher realms but choose to come and help have a positive impact on Earth, because this is the starting place for many of us, and it's, if we can fix this place here, then it's the rolling up of the heavens on Earth or whatever could happen. But
it's so cool. It's sort of like, man, we went to a psychic for the first time. Have you ever been to a psychic before?
I've been to some like mediumship sessions where I've sat in the crowd and watched them. So you went to like a personal one?
Just went to like a random lady that someone spoke about that told them some stuff that was too accurate. She's not the archetype at all of the spiritual lady, right? She was just like, she's almost had like a hard life and everything, right? And man, she blew our minds, Like, everyone that went to her, like, she basically said what you said then in that sense, like, oh no, there's like, people can come back, and there's these ascended people, and they come in and they can communicate, and some people cross over, and basically she's like, and you can keep coming back onto this earth until finally you don't need to, and then you can stay up there. But all that aside, she told us shit that was going to happen that ended up happening, and stuff that was too accurate, like something that you just couldn't
was
have
both
guessed.
You together or just you?
All separate. I went my mum, my sister, Harry
as well.
Everyone went separate, man. And it all like, my mum plays pickleball every Sunday. It's like the only thing she does hard. Like, and she goes, I see you like with a racket, like pickleball or something like that. And I was just like, what? And I got the audio recording of it, and And there's no way she could have known that. Like, mum's not on Instagram, you know what I mean?
No, it's a real thing, man. Yeah, mediumship is very,
well, I've
very
never
real,
experienced
even though there's
it.
a lot of charlatans and
and
like this is so out there for a lot of people,
Yeah.
what we're talking about right now. I'm sure you know that, but like, man, we both came from backgrounds like where like I was a renderer for a little bit, and like if you fucking talk about this shit on the job site, or something like that, like,
and like, and how you're talking about the creator, I think have knowledge of a creator is logical. I think it's illogical to not have that knowledge, because the fact that we're here is the magic enough for me. Like whatever you want to call it. I've always said like the fact that there's a sun up there, people can call it helium and hydrogen, but it's still a sun. That's why the fuck is that there and why, how did that get there? You know, like, so you can still break down the matter of it all, but the fact that we're here, that's the magic enough for me. And also the fact that now I realize we are being guided, and you're constantly getting lessons from the universe. Like Jake said it to me a few months back, and I spoke about it, and now I realize it. And it's like, the universe is constantly trying to talk to you, and you just got to listen. And it could be the subtlest thing. It could be a couple talking next to you at dinner, and it's meant for you.
Yeah.
Like shit like that.
Relevant.
Man.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's
you walk into a supermarket and a song comes on that's just like got some lyrics, and you're just like,
dude, I know, that's a massive one.
And then you can ask for it, and you can get the answer. The next song will come on. But that's what made me think of how you said a lot of people are telling you to start jiu-jitsu, because that psychic lady told our videographer he needs to go back and do whatever with a group of men, and he was doing jiu-jitsu, but he's not doing it now. But it's funny that she told him that, and then I went to jiu-jitsu, and the boys at jiu-jitsu asked where he was, and then someone texted him and said, "Oh, sign up at this jiu-jitsu club with me." So he had 3 inputs from the universe to go start jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? But the psychic made it clear, but it all happened that day. He could have listened to any one of them, and it would have happened. So it's like, that's what made me think like, fuck, where else? Oh, man. Where else are these little signals that we're getting? Like AJ Miller just then, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And how weird's this? This is freaking me out today. So I just started Spirit Gym about 2 weeks ago, and I've definitely shifted. I feel I've had a shift in my the weight of the world feeling on my shoulders, just personally. And so yesterday morning or the day before, I went to pick up a coffee for my friend Eppo, and I walked into this coffee shop that I never go to, and this girl goes, she almost just like fucking dropped, dude. She was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, what? And she's like, you were in my dream last night. You took me to this pond and showed me how to speak to animals and birds. And I was like, what? Yeah. I don't know this girl. I don't know her.
You don't even know her.
Yeah, and I've never been in this coffee store in my life. Like, it's on the Nicklin, like it's just outside of my house, but I never go there. I always drive past it. I've never gone there, but for some reason went there this day. And then this morning I went to turn the hot water on in my shower, and then I look, like as I turned it, my shaver turned on.
Whoa.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like I'm like, that could just be a malfunction. But
well, when did that happen? Yesterday?
Today the shaver, and then like 2 days ago
And if you think about, we did a speech yesterday. There was a few hundred people there, and you actually did a spirit animal meditation for everyone.
Yeah, true.
Where you got everyone to connect to their spirit animal, and and there you go.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
it's pretty out there shit. But I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that would be fucking weird, dude. Some person telling you you're in that dream. And
shit. I actually haven't read her message from me, but she's just wrote me a massive paragraph saying exactly what the dream was.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
cool.
We'll do it. Maybe we'll do a video on it.
Well, you're gonna have to check that one for sure.
I know.
Shit right there.
Man, I want to ask you about the back to the diet sort of thing, because a lot of people that are in your journey or have been through your journey, and it's cool that you've been through it. Because how long were you veggie for, or vegan, or whatever it was?
So I was vegan for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then I guess towards the end, I was like, I guess from like year 4 or 5, I was like really starting to. Well, I started experimenting with it. I thought I feel a bit better. Well, I felt better, but then like other stuff was still not perfect, and I definitely believe that like we can feel optimum, we can heal. And so I started to experiment within veganism, so like raw veganism and fasting and certain supplement B12 and things like that. I never go super like chemical mainstream route, but within what I felt was natural and aligned. And then I got to a point when like I just still didn't feel right, and I was looking around And I was like, I got to be honest about this, because a lot of vegans put me on a pedestal of like, this guy's vegan and look how athletic he is. And a lot of my accomplishments were from pre-vegan days anyway. But I was still representing at a decent level. But of course, you could still be carrying on muscle stores from when you ate meat or whatever it is. I wasn't like born vegan. So I was looking around and like, well, there's still things I don't feel that good about. And all these other vegans are like promoting it to everyone as though it's the best thing in the world and that they feel perfect and healthy. And I'm like, well, I don't feel perfect. How can these guys claim it? And I mean, I was definitely projecting a bit in that as well. But then it led me to look at Dr. Arnold Ehret's work, and he's really big on fasting. And there's, I can't remember the other book, a guy, maybe Sheldrake or Herbert Shelton. I read his book on fasting, and it was about like, I started to do like a couple of days fasts, but then it was like the first 2 or 3 days is just getting into that kind of state where you start to heal. And then beyond that, you start to heal. And after even like 21 days beyond is when like you really start to heal. The basic theory is that when you fast, your body's not focused on digesting. So then it can focus, the energy can go towards, fixing the joints, and the other stuff that's on the bottom to-do list can start to get done. And so I thought I would do a long fast. My plan was a week in the beginning. I got to a week. I was reading all these books. It was like 21 days. So I was like, right, get to 21 days. Got there. I was like, get to 28 days, one full moon cycle. Got there. And then I was like, why not aim for 40, right? That's like the big number in history of like 40-day fast.
Just
and then
water?
Just water, yeah. Just distilled water. I didn't even have salt in it or anything, which
Fuck,
I would
man,
definitely
that's
do now.
mental willpower right there.
Oh my God.
I respect
yeah,
that.
in the beginning it is, but once it's like anything, like once you're committed and you're in, it was like, it felt all right each day. And I was just like, I was in the cycle. The first week or so was pretty tough. And then I didn't want to I realized my ego was attached to hitting 40 days. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention. And then there was a real distinct shift on day 36 when I woke up, where it felt like it went from fasting to starvation, because people just assume that you don't eat, you starve. And it's like, no, this fasting is a period. And depending on how much stores you've got in your body or other things as well, how much fuel you can maybe, whether there's prana from the universe, I don't really know. I didn't feel tuned into that specifically. But at day 36, I felt like, something's different. And I chose to break my fast with some some watermelon.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how was breaking that fast and that moment? And could you feel the nutrition? Could you feel the sustenance come back into you?
I mean, I like, fast forward a couple of years, I was like, I wish I broke it with like a bone broth or something like that,
Yeah.
or even just a soup or something. Because I was like, your whole palate and tongue is like, and gums and everything is like completely reset like a baby. And because I'm in England eating fruit from a supermarket, it was like, it wasn't perfectly ripe and it just burnt my mouth. And then I had some other melon, and like, I think the watermelon burnt my tongue and this other melon burnt my lips and gums. And I was like, and then I just was on cucumber for like 3 days.
Wow.
So it wasn't like, it tasted amazing, but then like shortly after I was like, something's not right here. And that was like my last like desperate thing. And then I thought I'd eat a raw fruit, mostly fruitarian, raw vegan diet. Like I remember being constipated. Like I ate for a few days and nothing came out because I was eating just fruit. And then I read something that was like, eat a salad, and I ate a salad and like went straight away. So I was like, okay, I need to have some veggies in there as well. But then like shortly 2-3 weeks after, like a lot of my ailments, my inflammation, joint stuff, like I would get injured doing yoga, like my muscles would pull, they weren't recovering. So then I was like, well, fuck it. Like I've done this stuff. I really believed like if this isn't working, then it must be something else. And then I was speaking to a few other friends at the time who'd also been vegan, but less in the limelight as me. So they were just able to adapt quicker. And they were just saying like how much better they felt, and they'd incorporated all those animal foods. And I was like, fuck, like, cause I had my whole life, my business, my YouTube was all ingrained in that place. And that's when I was like, well, I've got to be on it. Like I really had to be honest about it. And I had to speak behind the scenes with my business partners who were we had a vegan clothing company. They were all vegan and completely they were newer to vegan than me, and were just like, and I would understand their perspective, because when I was deeply vegan too, if I had a friend who left vegan, I would have been pretty shocked, or like, especially if you got business ties with someone. So we had to discuss things behind the scenes, but ultimately I had to come out and say I'd eaten meat and felt different and wanted to continue eating meat. And that was when Paul Chek had me on his podcast, because he heard that story and thought, I guess he could see that it took something for me to speak out like that, and wanted to talk to me about it. And so that was my journey kind of out of it to eating I eat salmon again, and it kind of went semi-viral. I had a wet dream.
Oh yeah, the salmon guy.
Dude,
Yes,
this is crazy. I've actually heard the potty.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Dude, I heard the potty with you and Czech years ago. I didn't even realize.
Okay,
I didn't even know it was you until like you're saying this right now. I remember this. I've told your story to people, dude.
I think you told me.
I told you.
Yeah.
I remember about this. I was like, this guy was like, did like some crazy long fast and had salmon and then had a wet dream and shit. And,
And that's
Yeah.
You told me, I think.
yeah,
That's crazy.
wow. Fuck, that's crazy. I didn't know that. As we're talking right now.
Full circle.
Yeah, because I used to pump out Paul's potty early days, and
Yeah.
now I sort of just mix it in wherever I can. But and so you were on it in sort of the early days when he started the potty, hey? And man, that's such a cool story.
I
So
know.
were you on What the Health, bro, or no? Nah, that documentary.
Was that what? Sorry.
Remember that like vegan documentary that came out?
Yeah, it was.
You were on. Yeah, they use you.
I was on What the Hell.
Yeah, right. Okay, wow. Yeah, that's why I remember that.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Crazy.
man, that's such a cool story. Hey, like,
What an amazing story. And how do you feel?
Yeah, I filmed for Game Changers. Actually, I forgot that I filmed for Game Changers as well, and then they cut my whole bit because it was like in between filming and the documentary coming out. That was another like vegan quite propaganda.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm trying to think of. Yeah, but it was What the Health. Yeah.
Fuck, what do you
but
see?
I was in What the Health, and then they filmed me for that next one, and then they put
chopped
it out.
you. Yeah, because like, what do you see? I know Paul did a massive thing on Game Changers, which is very interesting. But what do you like? Yeah, how do you feel about that? You know, like how it's just so pushing so much vegetarianism. Like where is that coming from? Like I'm open to people being, you know, we're all form of God. Like you can be whoever you want to be, vegan, vegetarian. But like, where do you think like this like pushing of like saying meat's so bad for you and stuff is coming from? Like,
yeah, well, I get it. Like I get, and I'm actually like vegetarian now, like semi-pesky, but I'm mostly vegetarian. I eat lots of eggs and a bit of dairy, because I've come to the kind of new understandings again.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is really motivated by. There's a lot of anger in that community and projections at other people, and there's not like, you know, some people can eat that lifestyle and be healthy. There's certainly people that are. And like I say, I think I was projecting a lot at other people because I didn't feel good, and I've come to see that there are other factors in that, and a lot of childhood stuff and other emotional factors that was affecting how I was feeling with that lifestyle. But yeah, a lot of these documentaries are very manipulative and use a lot of propaganda and agenda pushing. That's why most people can't connect with it. They can just sense that from the directors and the people that make that. Like they're just clearly pushing an agenda, and you know, some people will hear it and they'll hear it through a certain lens and just go, "Well, I'm going to do that then." And most people were like, "What are you trying to, you know, manipulate me into believing your beliefs?" And I think there is a way to do it that just none of them have really taken that approach.
Yeah. I always thought like on a deeper level that it's all perfect. You know what I mean? I'm like, maybe that the creator wants half the world to be vegan, or wants half the world to be vegetarian and then half to be carnivore or whatever, because like that really, like, thought is polarity. It's yin and yang, and it has to be that way. So I was just thinking like, maybe it's just all perfect and we should just stop fighting.
Yeah, I think diet's really,
that's like, weird.
Of all the issues on Earth today, diet is one of the smallest to focus. Like we've got much bigger issues in how we treat each other as humans than how we treat animals. Like
fucking oath, yeah. I
Yeah.
feel you on that one. Yeah, we only got to look at what's going on over in Ukraine and everything. It's pretty skits at the moment.
Man, for you were saying how you're into movement and the biomechanics stuff. Where are you guided with that at the moment? Like, where are you studying, or where are you getting information at the moment for all that sort of work currently? What are you into?
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting story. I'll share it openly. When I left my clothing company, the vegan clothing company, I managed to sell my shares. And with that, I invested in like the next chapter of my life. And because I was training again and I was moving and I felt better, but I still knew there was stuff to work on, that led me into like a journey of biomechanics, which led me into functional patterns was one of the first things I came across. And I spent my money exploring other passions. So I did like a week-long bushcraft course. I did a week-long mountaineering course. I thought maybe I want to be a mountain leader because I like spending time in nature in the mountains. I won't go into this long story short, but I was kicked out of functional patterns or banned by Naudi, for those that know him. That might sound very normal experience. But then with the last bit of money I had, there's another person online that I discovered called David Weck. You guys familiar with David Weck?
Yeah, the Weck method, right?
Weck method, yeah. So that with the last bit of money I had saved, I went to San Diego in October 2019 and went to learn from the man himself, David Weck. I'd seen like some Instagram videos of him wearing like 3 pairs of glasses and just talking crazy to the camera and moving like a madman. But I was like I think I knew just enough about movement, like in my own body, that when I saw him move, I was like, there's something to this. I think people maybe if they've got less of a movement background, they'll see him and they won't fully, they'll just see a madman and they won't actually, but I could see that he was moving with a certain poise and control that was like, the parkour guy in me was like, this something to this 50-year-old, right? I'd always feel like if David Weck was like a 25-year-old jacked athlete and moved exactly the same, people would think he's one of the most athletic people on earth. But because he's skinny, gray hair, 50-year-old, they just think he looks weird because you never see a 50-year-old move like that. So I went and learned from him in 2019, and my journey has just been like, I've been exploring lots of other things like that. I did, knees over toes, flowability, secrets of athleticism. I've explored a lot of different practices, but Weck methods, like since then, it's been my favorite staple in a lot of my stuff. And the principles that David teaches and some of the tools he uses have been built my current life right now.
He wasn't the one that invented the bow suit, or was he? Was that someone else?
He did. He invented the bow suit.
Yeah, yeah, cool. That's cool, man. Yeah, I mean that's
imagine having that to your name.
Yeah, and then he invented rope flow and then pulsing, and he's like created this plyometrics vest where it's like a weighted vest. It's not out yet, so this is like it's in prototype. I got to play with it, but it's a weighted vest, but inside it are the cartridges with springs and weights, so that when you bounce, you suddenly get that shock of weight, like 20 kilos, 30, 40 kilos, and then it disappears. So it's not like you're carrying around that weight the whole time, but with the spring, word for it. Yeah, but with the spring and the weight, so it trains the like ligaments and everything to rebound and contract and relax together.
Fuck,
so he's just a crazy.
That's pretty cool, man.
Guy. He's like out there inventing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because and with the rope
he lives
stuff,
in San Diego. He lives near Czech, but I think they've had a bit of a checkered past.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's like if you think about, say, have someone with a shoulder issue, like the rope's gold because you're going to get a rhythmic stabilization of the whole shoulder girdle during the whole like spinning around. So you're getting a full, almost like a closed chain contraction, but in an open chain way.
Yeah.
And
it's just gentle, right? It's like you can use a mace, but mace is maybe too heavy. Rope's like forgiving, light, and it's just training. Because you have to move around it, it's just training that spiral pattern over and over and just greasing the groove and getting good blood flow and nourishment. I've had so many good reports from people who use the rope and have improved shoulder injuries and stuff.
Yeah. Fuck,
I'm getting into it. Yeah, we've got to get a rope. Like, where do you get a rope? Because like we had a friend.
I'll send you guys a rope.
Oh,
I'll send you both one.
That'll be mental. Man,
yeah, because sick.
Dude, you don't listen to this. We had our friend Mark Minicello, who's like over here. There's like rugby league, and Anthony Mancello is like this just super famous league player, but his brother is as well, and they're the biggest legends. And he came up and he was using the rope, man. He was ripping at it, and I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "Do I just go to Bunnings and get a rope?" Like, but he showed me some.
You can,
shit.
But you need you can buy a cheap one to play with the patterns, but a proper rope will feel different. But yeah, man. So he was showing you some stuff.
He was showing
dragon roll or anything.
He was showing the main. I actually looked at your stuff before, and like the one where you turn and it goes like behind you and in front of you.
That's it. Yeah.
And it was
dragon roll.
It was fun. Yeah, dragon roll. That's it.
It feels good too. And you know what? Since I played that with him, I noticed like I can get some people to throw. Say they throw and their shoulder hurts. They throw a ball, but when they throw, if they lead with the elbow, it takes away the shoulder pain a lot of the time. Like if they try and throw with the arm sort of abducted, they can feel like a bit of a pinch, especially when they go back. But if they lead almost like a baseball where they like bring the elbow and it slings forward, they can manage to throw still without the pain.
It feels like when you do that, it feels like when the arm's back like that, you're not getting like this whole girdle to like, but if you lead with the elbow, when I just did it then, it's like you get this contraction of like the whole shoulder. Yeah, it's like the whole rib cage and shoulder.
Yeah, well, that's bringing it closer to your body, so it's going to be more, I guess.
That's cool.
Yeah, and using the lat, right? Everything just like, yeah,
it's fucking
nice.
That's sick, man. So how did you got into that through David's stuff, and then you started playing with it yourself?
Yeah, so I went and did a 3-day course with David, and I didn't even go for the rope. I didn't get the rope when I saw it online. It was more the like, it has these pulses things that you run with that then became the vest, but you can hold them in your hand. So I went did a 3-day course, and I booked like a 2-week stay, and I hadn't spoke to David before this. I just went out there, and by the end of the 3 days, he was just like super supportive, could see my passion for it. Thank you. And just wanted to help me out. And so he said, you can stay with me for the rest of 2 weeks.
Sick.
Stay with him. We actually went to Joshua Tree, and he just me and him, and he just like downloaded because I could absorb it and was ready for it. And he just like, and the rope, like within 5 minutes picking up the rope, I was like, holy shit! Like this, like I could feel what it was. That infinity pattern that it was doing into me was like nothing I'd seen or done or felt. And like the fact that your left and right hands are connected and talking to each other through the rope, right? They can't act independently; they have to work together. And you're non-side dominance, and you're not just hitting with one side. You're learning everything on both sides. There were just so many things.
That's good, dude.
It was doing that. I was
that infinity pattern is in everything,
dude.
It's in everything. Yeah, I've noticed even with like running, like if I get my hands, I can sort of scoop it. And I'll get like a little bit of an infinity pattern with the shoulders. And I noticed running upstairs one time, I started playing with it because I'm similar in the sense of like, I'm very curious constantly about biomechanics and the body and just curiosity. And my father was into Feldenkrais, which is like awareness through movement.
Oh yeah, I like Feldenkrais.
Yeah, so I grew up as like
Weck had a lot of Feldenkrais influence as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, that was like my religion basically growing up, right? And
wow,
and. So I noticed running upstairs, if I sort of get that sort of almost like ice cream scoop in the air, I get free energy and it helps the sling go up. So it's like, I wonder.
Well, it's perpetual motion, right? So it's like, I've got the logo there.
Oh, sick.
That's my brand logo. But it's just this fact that rather than if you do that, you have to use energy to stop, to push it again. Whereas if you do that, you're blowing the energy around the bend to come back again. So it's perpetual. It's just much more efficient to do it that way, to move left and right, than it is to do that, which just takes a lot more stop-start. So like you say, you're running and you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
Got it in the spine and the shoulders and the wrists. And not only that, which is, you feel that already, but then when we're doing it, it puts the head over the foot from side to side. When my head's over the grounded leg and I drive, then the weight's going, all the energy through the leg, because the head's obviously the biggest weight on the body. It goes in a straight line up the stairs, and then you land it to the other leg and you're up. So even though it's moving side to side, it's actually more efficient because the energy is going forwards. Every percentage of energy is going forwards, rather than if my head's in the middle and I push with my right leg, some of the energy is leaking. It's going to drive me that way when I want to go here. So it allows us to go this Usain Bolt like action, right? Not this stuck in the middle. It's like the tiger that crawls and the shoulders that roll,
Do you know who Matthew Walden is at all? Matt.
I haven't heard of that name.
Well, he's the head of Czech Education. You would love his shit, man. Like, you'd get along like a house on fire. Yeah. He's in London actually, but we just did a 4-part series. So if you ever want to listen to a potty next time you drive,
he's in London. I mean, I'd love to. I don't know if you guys can connect me, but
fuck yeah, we'll connect you for sure, man.
He's just someone that's very passionate about every aspect of the body. Like he's got a conceptual view of like every disease and biomechanics and whatnot. But you'll understand, like if you listen to any of our potties with him, I think our latest one today even come out. He's just talk about this sort of shit all day, man. And he'll just have like just golden of like, an older generation sort of wisdom attached to it. And he writes in the bodywork, the movement therapy bodywork journal, which is like one of the most respected sort of bodywork journals in the world. But man, I'm gonna crank that rope and we're gonna pump that for you here, because it'll just be fun, something new to try.
Yeah, well, when I picked it up, I was like, man, this is so fun, and it was super hard. But I get like you're integrating left and right brain as well with the hands, and then I think balancing out like the slings, like I'm so like I love deadlifting and I love squatting, but I understand that if you just deadlift and squat, it's the dumbest thing. Like, I mean, you might get a bit fitter, you might get a bit bigger, but you're not going to move better. You're not going to rotate better. But I'm thinking a lot lately, like how you can get like the most optimal form of rotation and using your slings and stuff. And I know functional patterns does like really good at that, but like I was thinking like Tai Chi is so good in the way like do you know Master Shen Yi, the German? He probably seen him on.
Yeah, I love him.
Oh,
yeah.
he's the man. But I've done a bunch of his YouTube. It has like hour-long Tai Chi sessions, and dude, some of the positions you get in are just like so warped out and holding, and it's slow, and it's like, man, that's the feeling, eh? That's what keeps you young instead of being always just like
different planes of motion, eh?
Yeah, and it's the same. It's like functional patterns, like. You know, it's like it all is good.
Yeah, with what did you take away from the FP stuff, man? Because I've looked in, like I've took a lot of the myofascia stuff away, and I understand the way. I can see the concepts behind it. I can see he's using the anatomy trained slings, and coming up with exercises that use the anatomy trained slings. What did you take from it? What was your benefits from it? And I know obviously the community goes hard, but
Nowdy's a legend.
But yeah, he goes. It's like they've really pushed people away in the sense of it feels like he's not ready to learn. He doesn't want to learn.
Fuck, he's successful though.
No, I mean, people buy into harshness, for whatever reason, but he's definitely got some truth there. But yeah, he's very incredibly hypocritical and insecure. He's obviously had some tough. I think I don't know what happened in his childhood, but
for sure.
I don't know. I think a lot of the rotational stuff, a lot of the slow. I feel like a lot of what Nowdy took actually is from Paul Chek, right? Like because it's like the spine, you know, from Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. There's a lot of similar, like the spine stuff, the pulley system pulling.
Yeah,
I think Nowdy just literally took what Paul had started there and then put it through the more locomotive model with a bit more of angles with the chambers that he does, where there's more of the infinity kind of in there. It's not just, even though they do a lot of rotation where I don't see them verticalized that much.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I think I think it was that just thinking of it through the locomotive lens was one of the biggest things I learned. Now I don't think you have to be gung ho, but like you just said about, you know, if you just deadlift and you don't apply it, you're not going to necessarily be more athletic in itself. You'll be stronger, but it's that how do you bridge both? And I think they are the extreme of the opposite end because they're like anti deadlift and anti weights. But you know, if you had 50% that and 50% the weights, you're going to. I think that's a much more balanced way to do it.
It's like so, you wouldn't want to.
For me, it was just like helping me look at. It was the first time I thought about locomotion as a part of my fitness and gym strength training kind of thing.
Yeah, and you can take good from everything. That's what we've talked about it a lot. It's like you should never shun anything. You should always just go question and go, why? Is that good? Is that bad? Could I use this? And like Callan's been looking at stuff like that he disagree with. Who's the guy you've been looking at?
I listen to like lots of people that I completely think the opposite. Like Adam Meekins, do you know who that is?
No.
He's actually a UK physio, and his whole thing is he's very evidence-based. It has to be on paper. If it's not on paper, he needs proof for everything, you know?
Yeah.
But he's huge on just like deadlifting.
I mean, this is how you take proof, right? Because I think there's other proofs than paper. But
yeah, I know. Paper, eh? And that's just the academic system.
So, but I'll be like, all right, what does this guy have to say? And I'm like, because he thinks you can't pinpoint muscles or palpate muscles, because had Diane Lee, they had a debate, and Diane Lee is all about, I'm not sure if you know who Diane Lee is, but she's got she's probably the number one like female sort of physio in the world, pioneer. She'd be probably about to retire. She definitely will be. I did a mentorship under her. But her whole thing is touch. So she's the most I've ever met at, like, she can feel a body and feel, is that joint moving in an inferior lateral glide? You know what I mean? Or like,
okay, so she's really sensitive to what's happening.
She's amazing with the touch. She wrote the book, The Pelvic Girdle. She's one of the pioneers that figured out the SI joint can unlock. And she's got a book called The Thorax, which you would love, man. It's a deep book, but finding out how you can actually move. I did the mentorship, how you can move rings. So you can run your hands up someone's rib cage, right? And if it's sticking out, you have one ring, which is the rib, but the whole ring would be sticking out one way.
Yeah.
It means it's rotated to the other. And you can actually move it with your fingers and then feel it push back in the other side. And then all of a sudden their rotation is unlocked. So they may rotate to the right. They'll feel like a jamming sensation or something in the rib.
Just a single ring of the ribs. Just
like a whole ring. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the movement is bending a fly's knee. So you're actually just moving the skin on the rib, and then you hold your finger here, and about 7 to 8 seconds later, it just goes whoom and shifts over, and then you feel it. And
no way.
It's amazing. Her book's The Thorax. You'd love it. It's a deep read, but you'd love it. And then
anything similar to the roping stuff, or like an evolution of that, or like
it's not really like she speaks about all that sort of stuff, but it's more like finding your vectors. So then what you do is you got to release the rib, and then you feel it move back, and then you feel where's that vector coming from? Is it anterior? Is it an oblique? Is it an iliocostalis? Is it moving up from the back? Is it moving forward from the front?
Oh, okay.
And then you look for that tissue for like a spindle or whatever, and release that tissue, and then see if it corrects the rib. And a lot of the time these ribs will actually cause the SI joint to unlock because the nerves that run via the abdominal wall run through those ribs. But it was deep. It was very, very deep. But it was one of those things that he was saying, you can't do that sort of shit, it's the tests show it's too not reliable. But after I did the workshop with her, I realized, oh no, okay, you can do that. And then the universe sent me someone in who had long-term back pain with unstable SI joint. Like she was agony when she rocked up. And then literally I was like, fuck, where am I going to use this? It's so tech. And we did a lot on that, and then found out her multifidus, which is a muscle in the lumbar spine there, wasn't firing. And I could feel that it wasn't firing, which Diane taught me. And then we woke it up, and then she's been out of pain ever since. So it wasn't this big, crazy glute strength program. And it was literally waking up this one muscle from an old back injury. Because that muscle turns off inhibited with pain, and it won't turn on sometimes.
Yep.
And I wonder why it doesn't turn on. I think like maybe if we were running and back in nature, it would naturally turn on, obviously. But because she can sit down for 6 hours at a desk all day, that's why I think it doesn't wake back up, which it really comes back down to gait probably and walking and shit. But
and the level of numbness, I think, like if we're not feeling like if we were super sensitive and maybe we were more in our body and less plugged into other things, we might be like, I can feel that that's not activated or whatever, and we can just have that sensitivity, but we're just so like in our heads and not in our bodies so much now.
You're right. You're right. And that's the goal. That's our goal. And my goal is to connect people to their body and connect people to the subtleties. Like how does food make you feel? How does, when you lose that extra hour of sleep, how's your mood not as good the next day? How does this exercise make you feel? How does this stretch make you feel? Does tissue work or, and just constantly reflecting to how it makes you feel. 'Cause I do that when I train in the gym, my head, I'm fatiguing from my brain more than my body. I'm thinking about how to do it.
That's one thing I liked about functional patterns, actually. Yeah. Like the brain, the mind muscle connections happening, and you're really focused. Yeah, and the same with the rope. Like it's a real brain workout. So I think that's when you're in the better. That's a huge part that people completely miss in the training is that the brain's not involved, right?
Yeah, and I think with the rope stuff, I was thinking. Because if we look back on nature and if we were always like, say, throwing spears one way or rotating one way, you're going to have this rotational balance. But I think, especially with the throwing, right? Because no one throws with their left arm or the opposite arm, I should say. But the rope would almost get this constant repping in of a throw pattern. I'm sure there's throw patterns in there, right? Over and over and over again.
Yeah. We're doing it just 2 days ago. Yeah. There's a pattern with the rope.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
I can train it on my non-dominant.
Yeah,
and then I can throw a tennis ball, throw a football, something like that, and I'll just practice with both. And you also use your good side to teach your non-dominant side, so you can think about that. I go, okay, let me mimic and mirror that on the other side. And
that's actually what Dad used to got me to do.
Same, but you can improve it.
Yeah,
that's what Dad, like Feldenkrais, they used to always get you to do. Yeah, it's like just stop there and think about it. It's like jiu-jitsu, man. You can sit there and think about some technique heaps, and all of a sudden you're better at it. And then I'm not sure if you listened to that Matthew Walker podcast with the sleep guy with Joe Rogan, but he was talking about every time you sleep, your brain trains what you did that day, and they did it with mice. So they put these mice in a maze, and then these mice figured out where the food was, and then they watched the mice repeat that learning, but 20 times faster than when they were actually doing it. So when they were sleeping, it was like the pattern would go off and they watched these mice while sleeping, do the same pattern of when they were doing it awake. So basically, they were saying when you sleep, you actually train everything you did that day, and that's why like you can play a song on guitar and you just fucking can't get it.
That makes total sense.
It does, man, and you can't get it. And the next day you pick the guitar up and you can get it all of a sudden. And like, why did that happen?
I know. I did that exact thing the other night. I said to my girlfriend, I was like, this is weird. Now I can pluck this picking pattern.
Yeah.
So
the day before I was like, dun, 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 dun. And then the day after I was just like, boom, 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 boom.
So practice and the perfect night's sleep makes perfect, not just practice makes perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So it's part of it. Well, that flew by, dude.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Did we cut out on you for a bit?
No. I like Zoom's pretty clever. I got it in like a condensed thing. Yeah, the rope is just a huge one. Exactly the same. Like you practice a pattern and you might even be frustrated with it, and the next day you pick it up and you'll be like, wow, like where did that come from? And it's just such a clear indicator that like, it's the time off is just as important as the time on.
Dude, we've got to get some ropes off you,
dude. Yeah, we'll pump it for you, man. So you sell these ropes?
Straight after, man. That's my main business now. I'm not here to plug it, but if people want it, like that's
definitely.
Yeah, I have ropes and courses for beginners and intermediates.
Sick. So where do the listeners go to? Because we're all about supporting our listeners. Like where do you?
Yes. So wayoftherope.com is the website, but if you want to just check it out first on Instagram, it's at Way of the Rope, or if you go on YouTube and search Way of the Rope, there's loads of free like tutorials and educational stuff around it, like common mistakes to avoid and all this kind of stuff.
Man, that's
but
awesome.
I'll create a discount code for your listeners. I'll do
Sick.
CC15.
Legend.
Awesome, bro.
Cool. CC15 for the
15%.
listeners.
Yeah.
Sweet. And Harry, will this be out next week, this one? Yeah, this will be out next Monday here, so that'll be perfect. So we'll have that have that ready to go. I'm sure there'll be heaps of crew that want to get into it.
I'm going to send you some videos of trying to pump the rope.
Yeah, we'll tag you. We'll do it. I just can't wait to be
tag
smooth.
Us up, man.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll
bro.
reshare it.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much more depth to you, man. But we don't have heaps of time. But thank you so much for coming on today. And really love your energy. And
didn't think it was going to go there, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot in an hour, and I think it's good. Call it there, and then. People want more, we can. 100%. I'm happy to do it again with you boys. It's been really good to
absolutely. That's what our thing is. Like we try and keep our potties at 1 hour because we're like we want people to want more instead of like sometimes when they're like 3 hours long, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Man, appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and it was great chat. And you've inspired me now, and hopefully inspired you to start jiu-jitsu. But I'm going to get really good at this rope shit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Much
Thanks,
love, bro.
Yeah,
much love.
Be in touch in the emails, man. Lots of love.
Absolutely.
100.
Catch you, man.
Cheers.